Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our low carb webinar with Dana. Let us know if you can see us because we actually aren't sure. You know what? I think so. They can see us. I can see us on Facebook. So whoever's talking will show up in that corner. So maybe once Dana gets started, Cheryl and I will just mute ourselves so she can kind of go through her presentation that she is going to be doing on sugar. And before we actually decided on this topic, I kept thinking, okay, what is the one thing we really need to talk about? And I kept thinking sugar. I just couldn't figure out exactly how we needed to cover it. I sent a message to Dana and I was like, what are you feeling like we should really focus on this webinar? And she said, sugar. So that was very confirming. So I'm glad that that's what we're doing today. Awesome. This is good. We have a lot of people hopping on. Thank you for joining us. If you are watching this on Facebook, welcome. You feel free to leave comments and we will do our best to answer those while we're live. This is going to be a quick 30-minute chat about sugar, type 2, foods that are low carb, etc. So feel free to ask questions. If you have not registered for this free webinar, you can do so at bartonwebinar.com. You'll find lots of good information there. But Dana will probably be talking about some of her websites too and some ways to be in touch with her. And so I'll let her take care of that. But for now, say hello in the chat, whether you are on Facebook or Zoom or wherever we're catching we want to hear from you. So I think with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Dana and let her do her thing. So thanks for coming back, Dana. We're glad to have you.
Awesome. Thank you, Leslie and Cheryl, for having me again today. And yeah, when you asked me that question, I just thought, sometimes we need to go back to the basics and understand why. Why is Barton Nutrition saying, let's eat less sugar to help our diabetes or weight management? Why do I, in my 10-week program, encourage people to get off of sugar? And just like young kids, as adults, we need to understand why are we being asked to do the thing that we're supposed to do. So this is a presentation that I've done to some nursing professionals, some physicians, and it just goes back to the very basics. Throw your questions out in the meantime, and I can stop and answer. If you have any concerns, I can surely answer those questions. But the title of this is Sugar, You Are Sweet Enough. So yeah, sit back and enjoy the talk. So this is me. I love helping people with weight loss, blood sugar management, cravings, food ideas, stress management, and movement. All of these things help us get off of sugar. So I talk about that in my 10-week program. You can find more on danacushinghealth.com or Instagram. I'm dana.cushing.health. Same thing on Facebook. Dana Cushing Health. So if you really knew me, you would know that I used to really love sugar. And I mean love sugar. My mom was a dental hygienist, and I did not have candy until I was 2. She couldn't figure out why I was so quiet in the football stands at a game that my dad was coaching. And she looks over, and there I was, having M&Ms with a friend of mine who was passing me these bright colored candies. So anyway, that just kind of started my sugar journey. Even though growing up, we didn't have much sugar in our house. Once I got to the point where I could buy my own sugar, it was kind of a free-for-all. But having all of that sugar, I did not have good health or a good life. It really holds you back from living your best life, feeling that constant need to always be wanting sugar. So what is sugar? I'm sure many of you know that there are probably almost 100 different names for sugar, but these are the basics: glucose, sucrose, fructose, or lactose. And we will go through each 4 of those categories. The first category is breads and starches, as glucose and sucrose. And the American Diabetes Association kind of clumps the breads and starches with rice, beans, peas, potatoes, corn, any of your cereals, your bagels, muffins. So even though you look at the label and you're like, but there's no sugar in a bagel, or there's no sugar in rice, Once we swallow that rice or pasta or baked potato, it's going to turn into sugar. Our body says, oh, I have some sugar here to help you deal with. Same thing with fruit. Fruit isn't inherently bad, but it's still a sugar. It's fructose. And when we swallow that grape, apple, banana, it has to get turned into fructose. Milk is lactose. In 8 ounces of milk, there are 3 teaspoons or 3 cubes of sugar in 8 ounces of milk. And then the final category that the American Diabetes has are the things that most of us enjoy, are the sweets and treats, chips and crackers that are very high in sugar. Alcohol also is a category that does get broken down into some sugar and will impact your blood sugar. So that's something to be mindful of. Even though red wine is healthy sometimes, if we're trying to watch our blood sugar, it's very important to make sure that you're not over consuming that. And here is what a sugar molecule looks like. That's what our body has to process. So if you would put this little cube of sugar, like we used to put in our coffee, on a scale, it would weigh 4 grams, or 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon. So if you see something on a label, like the back of a milk carton, for example, if that says 12 grams, you think, oh, I'll take that divided by 4, and you would get 3 teaspoons of sugar in that product. I can stop a second if there's any questions on that. We good?
I think we're good right now.
Okay. So 3 teaspoons in milk. How about a can of Coke? 10 teaspoons of sugar. This is a very popular diagram when people are educating on sugar, but it's still, every time I look at it, it's mind blowing, because I see people with cans of Coke all the time. I see people with 32-ounce guzzlers from the gas station all the time. And what that is doing to our blood sugar is absolutely detrimental to every organ system in our body. It doesn't mean that you can't ever have just a little when your metabolism heals, but just to be aware that all of that sugar, it's making our blood sticky like maple syrup, and we want our blood to be like water. How about our beloved Starbucks coffee? In this venti caramel frappuccino, 14 teaspoons or 55 grams of sugar. Would you eat 14 cubes of sugar in a sitting? Probably not, but you could slug that down easily in 20 minutes, right? And just think of the rush that our body goes through with that, and all of the insulin that's needed to try and bring our blood sugar back down. That is it's inflammatory. How about yogurt? We've been told yogurt is so healthy for us. Just be mindful of your labels on yogurt. The Noosa, that's a very popular brand, 16 grams of sugar in 4 ounces. And I did have to buy that little 4-ounce container just to see, and I tried it. It's really good and creamy, but very sweet. And I would rather spend my sugar calories elsewhere. And just people are so often deceived by a container of yogurt. So peek at your label. My favorite yogurt is the Too Good yogurt or Ratio, where there's very little sugar, around 2 grams of sugar in that yogurt. Another yogurt that I find very deceptive is the Activia yogurt. It's good for your gut. There's probiotics. Well, 12 grams of sugar or 3 teaspoons isn't good for your gut. We can eat a lot of other healing foods for our gut that do not contain 12 grams of sugar.
I wish they would put how many sugar cubes are on the label for each piece of every product, so you could see you're eating 12 cubes of sugar. That might change America.
Wouldn't that be awesome, rather than calories? Honestly, I feel like in Australia, actually, there's a group called Sugar by Half, and they are working on getting a caution or a warning label on products that contain as much sugar as they do. Just because their childhood obesity rates are mimicking ours, and it's very scary to know what our kids are facing. I mean, as adults, what we're facing, but the younger generation, and who eats yogurt for the most part, you know, the yogurt sticks or the Trix yogurt. So yes, I agree, Cheryl. Great idea. So why do we want to eat less sugar? Sugar is going to put our immune system to sleep for up to 4 hours after we consume it. Our fighter white blood cells that we have just kind of end up in like a food coma, and they're just like, da, da, da. And we need our immune system more than ever now to be ready to go. And when we are constantly eating sugar, we are putting that immune system to sleep. So to create a vibrant immune system, if you could just pick one meal to eat less sugar, you are going to wake up your immune system and give your body a better chance to fight off any virus that comes at it or bacteria. More stable insulin and blood sugar levels. And what happens when you have more stable blood sugar and insulin levels? You're not hungry as often, your cravings go away, your mood is better, you're going to sleep better. There are so many benefits to get off of that blood sugar roller coaster. You might notice your high blood pressure improves because the inflammation is going down. So when we keep that blood sugar down and insulin down, we also allow our body to tap into our body fat stores, because if our blood sugar is up, our body is constantly having to burn this blood sugar off first. We want to get that down because we don't want high blood sugar. And every time we eat, whoop, there goes our blood sugar again. And just as it's coming down, we eat again. What if we let our blood sugar come down for 4 or 5 hours at a time? Our body says, I'm not getting anything coming in here, so I'm going to go grab some of this stored for later energy that we maybe have around, you know, our little tire or on our tush. That's how our body can tap into that when the blood sugar is lower. So just another reason why we want to try and keep that blood sugar steady. How do you eat less sugar? I'm wondering how many people get 8 hours of sleep. I cannot say that I get 8 hours every night. I would love to get 8 hours, but poor sleep can lead to increased sugar cravings. Have you ever noticed that when you have a short night of sleep, you are just hungry the next day? And what are we hungry for? It's not broccoli. Give me the pizza or a donut or all the high carb things to keep us going. And our decision making is just totally off. And then, you know, we have that donut. Okay, well, I'll try harder the rest of the day. But when we're fatigued, it doesn't happen. So getting proper sleep will help the rest and digest part of your body allow for better decision making throughout the day and help you avoid that nutrition nightmare. The second way to help with our sugar reduction is to really focus on protein. And when we prioritize protein, like beef, eggs, chicken, fish, any animal protein, even a whey protein shake, or egg whites, collagen, these proteins are the structure of our body, and they are going to help with us feeling satisfied. And we all need to feel satisfied because sugar is such a mind game. Even if we're not hungry, we're kind of thinking, I wonder what's in my kitchen cupboard. The third thing is to feel full with fats. We've been told for so long, don't eat fat. It's going to make you fat. It's going to raise your cholesterol levels. But what we do know now is that fat does not do those things. As long as we are eating the healthy fats, which are avocados or olives, olive oil, avocado oil, butter, coconut oil. So kind of the fruit oils because avocado, coconut, and olives, those are fruit fats or fruit oils, and then butter. The oils we want to stay away from are the seed oils. And if you can think of it as, I have 3 C's and 3 S's listed: corn, cottonseed, canola, soy, safflower, and sunflower. Oh, I have soy written there twice. That should have been sunflower, and peanut oil. Those oils are highly processed, and it can make us insulin resistant just by, it coats our cells, and it can make it harder for insulin to get the sugar in the cell. So really avoiding those seed oils is going to be a good ticket for better blood sugars. And then number 4, I used to say control your carbohydrates. I need to change my wording on this, because sometimes when people tell me to control something, I almost will do the opposite effect. So how about, let's be careful with our carbohydrates. Careful or mindful. Dr. Ben Binkman out of Brigham Young University has coined that, control your carbohydrates. And again, it's not that carbs are inherently bad. We have been eating some type of carbohydrate. It's just we eat too many carbohydrates. And when we pull back on them, that's when our blood sugar is stabilized and our cravings get under control. And we don't feel so under the, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. I'm going to need a snack. I can't even run out to the store because we're constantly eating carbs. So when we replace those carb calories with protein and fat, we are going to feel full for so much longer. And sometimes, I don't know, has anybody ever experienced this? I'm sorry for the unkind words that I spoke out of hunger. Sometimes those hunger hormones will just get the best of us. And we are hangry. We all know that feeling, and that hangry feeling goes away when your nutrition changes. And even if you can just start by changing one meal, by reducing your carbohydrates, and consider your first meal of the day. Focus on protein and fat for your first meal and see how you do the rest of the day. Rather than maybe a higher carb breakfast, when you do protein and fat, you are just setting yourself up for a day of healthier eating than a bowl of oatmeal or cereal or our typical pancake or pastry breakfast.
Dana, are there statistics about people who eat a high carb breakfast actually eat more sugar in the day?
Yes. And I don't know the exact numbers on that, but yes, I have heard many and read research studies that it just sets us up for a day of eating sugar, especially with a higher carb breakfast. So we eat, the pancakes, waffles, and we have some juice and a banana. Holy smokes, our sugar is up here, and we're so full. I'm not going to eat for a long time. But when our blood sugar goes this high, our pancreas has to put out insulin, and likely that insulin is overshot because it wants that blood sugar to come down. But when we overshoot on the insulin, instead of coming down nice and slow, we crash like this. And by 10 o'clock, we're like, I have to have something to eat right now. And then guess what? We are on that roller coaster all day long. So yeah, very good point, Cheryl. Thank you. And the goal that I have with the clients that I work with is to reduce snacking. But in the beginning, sometimes you just need a little something to get you through. And I usually want something sweet, but that doesn't raise my blood sugar. So this is a healthier Almond Joy. And rather than a regular Almond Joy that has 30 grams of carbs and 24 grams of sugar, which would be six teaspoons of sugar. This Almond Joy that I make with the Lily's milk chocolate baking chips, it has less than 1 gram of sugar. So I just take some Lily's chips, some almonds, unsweetened coconut, and put it in a baggie and just kind of make my own trail mix. Don't bake it. I don't do anything with it. It's just kind of a healthier trail mix. And you can make it however you want. Do you like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds? If you don't like coconut, you don't have to use the coconut. So just a snack bag of a higher fat food item will help you with your cravings rather than your typical trail mix, which is peanuts, M&Ms, and raisins. I mean, who can stop eating that? You know, you open up the container or the bag of it. Boy, we can really go to town. And I think a serving is a quarter or a third of a cup. And I think I could eat 3 servings pretty darn easily.
And I always eat the sugar out of it first. If there's peanut M&Ms, I eat those first. So that doesn't really work at all.
Right? Yes, absolutely. So the important thing really is to become a label detective. Take a look at your sugar and your carbs. Like we talked about on the yogurt, the Too Good yogurt is less than 2 grams of sugar. And if you would look at this Noosa yogurt, you would notice that there's, what did I say? There's actually 17 grams of sugar in this particular container. And I feel like there's more and more food companies coming out with products that are low sugar and healthy fats. So the choices are getting better when you need convenience items. Of course, try to eat whole, natural things, but you know, let's be real, we have to live life. And so just keeping an eye on those labels will really benefit you. And it's kind of eye-opening to see how much sugar is in things and how hard it is to avoid those seed oils that we talked about. Soybean oil makes up about 70% of the fat that Americans consume from their processed food. So that it's a tough one to get away from. Change is not easy, but it doesn't have to be difficult. Just starting with one thing at a time, you will begin your health journey and start to feel so much better. And it probably gets old hearing this, but I always encourage a whole lot of self-love and grace, because when we're talking positive to ourselves, we have positive actions that come out. If we think, oh, I screwed up again, oh, I did it again, then those negative choices kind of follow our negative thoughts. So some points to remember. We want to prioritize protein. Make that the center, excuse me, the center of your meal to help with sugar reduction. Feel full with fat. Do not be afraid of it. We don't need to overdo the fat, but don't be afraid of it. Be careful with your carbs and have a great foundation of sleep. And the majority of the time, you know, 80 to 90% of the time, if you're eating whole, real foods, you are going to notice an improvement in so many areas that it's going to make you want to keep doing it. So I just always encourage move forward, making lasting lifestyle changes with self-love and grace. And please let me know if you have any questions. And here's my contact information if I can help you.
Dana, this was so good. Thank you so much for doing this. Feel free to ask questions, guys. If you need any questions about type 2 or sugar or anything, Dana has been working with many clients and sharing great food ideas and recipes, etc. And so she's a wealth of knowledge. So feel free to ask questions here. Again, this is a webinar that we are doing bi-weekly. So if you haven't registered, you can head to bartonwebinar.com and set yourself up to be able to watch this and get reminders so that you don't miss it. Okay. I don't think we have any questions on Facebook right now, but guys, make sure that you look at her contact information, take a screenshot if you can, so that you're able to follow her. There's links to her social media pages if you go to her website and everything. So you'll be able to see all of the good recipes and ideas that she posts. And I have made her healthy trail mix, and my kids liked it too. So, and I actually bought a couple different kinds of the Lily's baking chips. I think they had like was it a butterscotch or a white chocolate maybe? And I mixed those, and that was kind of fun just to have some options. So very, very good. You know what? I don't see any questions coming in yet.
Andrew has
So,
posted a question
oh, okay.
on Zoom. He asks, what fruits are best for blood sugar control? I normally have a small bowl of mixed fruits that includes strawberries, blueberry, oranges, and papaya. Is this good?
Wonderful question. Depending on where you're at with your metabolic health, I love berries only. Berries are the lowest in sugar, especially blackberries and raspberries. Strawberries too. Blueberries tend to creep up just a little bit with sugar, but any of the berries are the best for those being mindful of blood sugar issues. Papaya and oranges, they can be a little bit higher. So maybe if you could add a couple more raspberries and scooch out the papaya and orange, you might see benefit from that. And, if this person is tracking their blood sugar, it's kind of helpful to see what happens 30 minutes, 60 or 90 minutes after you eat that sugar. And if you don't get a huge rise, maybe you could tolerate a piece or two of papaya, depending on how big it is. But really, it's so individual and really depends on the amount of muscle mass that we do have, because muscle is our biggest sink when we do eat glucose. So doing your resistance work, movement that I talked about will be really important for allowing you to have more of that fruit as you progress through the Barton phases of their program.
So Leslie just had a run, but I'm going to read the last question from Anku.
Sure.
He says, I've completely cut sugar in my rooibos tea. Is this a good thing to do? I've also kept to 20 grams of daily carbs. Personally, I observed that it kept my fasting blood sugar between 70 and 90 for the past 6 months, but I'm yet to meet with my doctor to stop taking my 10 milligrams of glipizide. Kudos to Joe Barton and Dr. Saunders. Any comments?
Wonderful. That is amazing. Hard work. And yes, Dr. Saunders has led you down a great path. Your fasting blood sugars are amazing. Anybody would love to have the numbers that you have. So high five to you for all of your hard work. And yes, I would be curious. I think now is the time to look and see. You have done the hard work with your nutrition. You've got the evidence, and now it could be time to say, hey, doc, I would like to try this on my own without this medicine. And just be aware when you do go off of that medicine, you might see a little bump in those numbers, but keeping under those 20 grams of carbs just at the very beginning when you get off of that medicine, just to see how your blood sugars are going to do, probably would be a good idea, and you could sure check with Dr. Saunders on that too. But that's awesome. For 6 months, you've been putting in the time. So good job.
And even if it's from 10 milligrams to 5 milligrams or some, if you can get your doctor to at least reduce it with all the done, that's a great step in the right direction. Dana, I have one question. You mentioned about blood sugar, and when you eat, you have spikes, and you were saying to keep it level, you want to avoid food for a while. And so then you talk about snacking. So what's the best strategy for giving your body time to digest and use the fat cells to burn energy before you dig into your another meal?
So if you can make it, if your body understands how to use the food as fuel, so usually, it's a mixed, maybe some carbs. And when those carbs go low, does your body know how to tap into the fats? If you can wait 4 or 5 hours, that's fantastic. But now some people, it's going to vary with each person depending on their activity level. But I love to see a 4 to 5 hour rest and digest break. But for those of us who are used to eating every hour or two, to make it 5 hours, that doesn't happen. Like that would be painful. And even though our blood sugar probably isn't, abnormally low, it's going to feel not nice to us. It's going to be like brain fog, or, oh gosh, I'm hungry, I'm weak. So then that's where those snacks can come in, maybe at 2 hours, and make it a healthy fat snack, almonds or the coconut, or cucumbers with some cream cheese. I love salami and some pickles. Um, just anything that's a protein and a fat combo to get you through to that next meal. And then, it'll just be this tiny little hill. You'll get a little insulin release, maybe, and then it's going to come back down easy, rather than a Snicker bar and then we're back down. Does that make sense?
Yes, healthy snacks, and hold off if you can, but if absolute necessary, eat a little bit of something, and get your body used to train. You're basically, I don't know, is it carb training? Can I say you're training it to eat your carbs and then your fat? I'm not sure if that's the right way to put it, but
yeah, absolutely. Training our body to become, some say fat adapted. So like we're able to burn body fat. But I like it to train our body almost to be metabolically flexible, because, when life happens, if we have a few carbs, okay, let's burn those. And then we don't eat for a while, and our body knows, oh, I'm going to switch over into that fat burning.
I think I like to be there where my body's metabolically trained.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So we're basically wrapping up at the half-hour mark, and we don't have any more questions. So thank you, Dana.
Yes, thank you.
You're always, like Leslie says, full of information. I hope people listening, glean everything you can. If it's repetition, then you know what? We need it, because everybody needs to get things more than once to understand it. And sometimes it's the first time we get it. Sometimes it's the 5th or the 10th. So, yeah, keep doing what you're doing and stick with it. And hopefully this webinar helps us stay on track for whatever our goals are. So thank you, Dana. And hopefully we'll see all of you back in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.